Hey everybody, Edo here, and for this week's League video, I wanted to talk about the people and or skills you need to run a Kickstarter, design a game, have a Kickstarter, and then publish it or get it to your backers or whatever. And this is something that I've talked about in a variety of Kickstarter basic videos, giving you an idea of the things you'll need to do as an individual to run a campaign, and that's sort of the basis of all these videos. But I was doing the Funding the Dream podcast with Richard Bliss, and we were talking about it, and we were actually talking about that that range of skills you need and how rare it is that that's one person, and how a lot of times you need to get help. And through that conversation, we were talking about James Hudson and the Grim Forest Kickstarter, which was an incredible campaign, and really illustrated what you can do when you're not doing it all yourself. James put together an all-star team to make an all-star game. Now, again, I haven't played the game, but certainly if you look at that campaign and the success and where that game's going, it's pretty high, right? And it really reflected what you can do if you bring people in to help and assist with what you're doing. And sometimes it comes down to bandwidth, sometimes it comes down to skills. Absolutely every individual, like I've said in many of my videos, know who you are, know what you're good at, do what you're great at, and if you can get help doing the things you're not great at or people are better than you, do it. Don't have an ego and hoard that stuff, right? But so, specifically for this video, and I'll try to keep it shorter, is there are lots of jobs in a Kickstarter, all of which you can do by yourself, all of which you can have somebody else do, some more than others, but you should be thinking about that, especially perhaps as you move from your original first Kickstarter. Maybe I'll make this an advanced video. Kickstarter to later Kickstarters, where you have a little bit more of a following, you have a little bit more of a bigger game. You're trying to take it to the next level, and you might consider this, right? So first and foremost, you have a game. You need a designer. Most of the time, a lot of Kickstarters, that's you. But there's nothing to say you can't hire or work with a designer, right? And it can be one of their original ideas, and you're picking up that designer's idea to publish it. It's probably not going to happen on your first Kickstarter, but whatever, it could. Maybe you have an idea, but you need some design support, and you can approach designers, whether it's sort of a cut, a royalty or back end or an advance or any of those types of things. Or perhaps, depending on the work you need, it's more of a work-for-hire type arrangement, that is to say direct payment. An example being for the Siblings Trouble campaign, as we were building out the world and all the different decks of the different locations the kids could go to, I needed some help just building out and ideating on, like, what are some more monsters? What's some more items for the kids to use? And there was a lot of things going on. And I ended up bringing on Andy to help with that. And it was a pretty specific role, a thing that he did, but he did a great job, and it was really helpful, right? So, you can scale that design piece from design and owns the entire vision for the game to supporting what you're working on, to helping out in an area or two that you need help. Perhaps even if it's more on the development side, you need design, but you really just need somebody to play test it, and for whatever reason you can't go week after week after week, you might be able to sign up a friend or a colleague or anyone to go do that, right? Also, there's a great important category, which is rules writing, and there's more and more designers and services for looking over your rules, writing your rules, refining your rules, and that's an investment worth considering. So either you're going to design and do all this work, or you bring on a designer, okay? So that's first person you might consider hiring. Then there's the artist, the illustrator, the person who's doing the paint work on the game, the characters, the backgrounds, that kind of thing. Not the graphic design, UI, icons, layout, but overall look. That might be you. You can source art from different sources that you pay for, that you're just buying that art. You can hire an artist. Artists, more often than not, are paid up front, but you can also, if you want to work on a back-end deal with an artist, that's not that hard to do. If you and it can be some combination therein. Some people source art across a lot. A game will have lots of different artists. Sometimes when that happens, it's hard to, keep it cohesive, but you can. So art's a category, and you should know, hopefully, whether or not you're capable of doing the art for your game. You can also then, lots of people have games that are pretty limited on the art. They're just text or icons and graphic design, and that's another way to get around that role. Then you have the graphic designer. This person is doing the icon work, the visual design oftentimes, and a great graphic designer will really make your game shine and be clear and easy to use. And that then extends into layout, manufacturing prep, rule book, all of these other things that you need to do from a graphic design component visual layout piece. And there's a lot of work there. A lot of Kickstarter creators will take that job on themselves. You can see it when it's the case oftentimes, but sometimes that's the best you can do. Graphic designers very often are, again, that's usually direct paid, but find the right person, make the right arrangement, and maybe there's a back-end opportunity there. But depending on what part of the flow is, you might just want to bring them in for X or Y. They're also a graphic designer is oftentimes going to be somebody you ask to do your marketing materials and usually or perhaps your Kickstarter pages. Again, a lot of people just sub that for themselves, but this is a category where you can go seek out that person. And there's a huge number of them that you can work with of different varying skills. You then effectively have the producer. And I find, now, I'm more inclined to that myself, but this is the person who is going to set up your campaign, coordinate all these people, and make it all happen. Sometimes this is a partner. You're a great designer, you're an artist, and you have this creative vision, but you want that person who's not quite the business guy necessarily, but the get things done, line things up guy, right? Again, I'm normally that guy, but if that person absolutely exists, but it's really a controlling and driving position oftentimes. And so the only thing I would say there is if you're going to bring somebody in, you really got to be confident in them, believe in them, rely on them, know that they have the time. I mean, that's really a linchpin type position, and you really should. That's a hard one. If it's your Kickstarter, you really should control it. If you're not going to control it, you really have to have a good relationship with the person doing it. I mean, and I would still make sure you're involved in every decision. Again, if you're the creator, because you're liable, it's your legal. I mean, be careful with that one. But there are people who are doing it. A lot more people who will help on the sort of live Kickstarter side. Now, and let's talk about that. So the next one I'm going to talk about is marketing and social media. That's a place where there are a lot of people and a lot of services that are going to come and say, I can market your Kickstarter campaign. I can help you do Facebook ads. I know how to do this. I know Google AdSense. I know this. I'm going to help you go big, go long, go far. You will get slammed with this. Anyone who approaches you who you don't know, who you don't have a reference for, I would just avoid. If you want and you need the support in this category, people absolutely exist. Find references, talk in the community, and get them. And they can help with marketing. They can help with social media and those kinds of things. For smaller games, it can get a little weird if somebody else is promoting your stuff. It's odd. It reads weird and seems sort of shilly. So you got to be a little careful with it, I think. I think it's stronger, especially in an early Kickstarter if you do it yourself. Also, and there are more and more people trying to offer that service and take a cut of your Kickstarter. Like, hey, I can make your game big, just give me 3%. Like I don't know. That isn't something that I personally would be comfortable with. It may work out for many and other people, but you just need to be careful cutting up your Kickstarter dollars as you go before they fund and you know what's going to happen. And you really got to understand and know what value you're getting. If I could do a good sort of eyebrow raise, I would do an eyebrow raise on that. And I don't know. When you sign up those people, you're signing up for their baggage too. So just, think about it. But lots of people can help in marketing, social media. Next one is a community manager. Now, with the way Kickstarter is updated, it's more and more possible to have this person. I think having somebody helping with managing the community, and this can often be a friend, is good, especially if they have a cool, better temperament than you do. I think if you keep this lightweight, it's just a matter of getting some help from people who've been working on the project and perhaps people who are on the team. But you absolutely can hire people to help on that community side. Sometimes that social marketing community, sometimes you get that all in one, but it helps. So you do your campaign, you're successful, and then suddenly you need to deal with finalizing development and manufacturing and getting it all done. If you've never done that before, it can be daunting, and you absolutely can. And either sometimes you find a graphic designer who has gone through that a bunch, you can pay them, or you work with somebody like Panda who holds your hand through the whole way on the manufacturing side, and you can work with them, or there are people who can help you specifically for this. So again, if building of the physical thing is a little bit daunting to you, that's an area you can get help, and a lot of people have experience. You're starting to get into shark territory again, with people, those types of things becoming ownership deals where suddenly they're saying we'll do this, but then we have some sort of stake or ownership in the product. Be careful with that. You should, if you're doing a Kickstarter, have control of your product. That's why you're doing. Well, maybe it's not why you're doing Kickstarter, but it's one of the reasons you should be doing your Kickstarter. Then you have ops and shipping, dealing with making sure your thing's done, getting it to the right port, paying and filling out the paperwork, bringing it, fulfillment. There are huge categories of support engines to help this with shipping and fulfillment and EU shipping and US, and it just costs money, but it's a huge hassle reduction. So it's a pretty established part of the business. You should look into it and consider what's right for you. Great way to get references, but absolutely you can get support there. Man, this list just keeps going. So the last one is then you've done your Kickstarter, you've gotten to backers, you're thinking about retail, and you're suddenly thinking about sort of this publisher stuff. How do I continue to spread the word on my game after Kickstarter, and brand management? How do I manage my brand and go grow my brand? This is a challenge. This is harder for just to hire somebody to do that. That becomes either you learn it, or you consider partnering with a publisher. There's just a huge leap in breadth, scope, and number of places you have to be and ways to do it. And I felt, to me, that's still the biggest learning curve I have, and the place where I'm always sort of interested in considering, well, maybe I should work with somebody or get some help here because I know I'm not doing that job the way I need to. Time is a big part of it, but just you're starting the networking and the building those relationships. It's sort of a career thing, and I think if you're not in there, it's a tough one. So that's an area where partnering is a good idea. The last thing I have here is support. Having anybody to support you along the way. I mean, hopefully you don't have to pay them, but whatever, is a big deal. So this was a weirder one, I think, because it wasn't, obviously I could have just said these are the things you have to do and here's how to do it. But I guess what I wanted to emphasize is that these are different roles, and you may or may not be good at these roles. And if you aren't, you can get help. And if you are good at them, look, honest to God, somebody's probably better, right? Like, somebody is probably better than you at everything, right? Unless you're like an Olympic athlete, you always can find somebody better. And if you can partner with that person who's better than you and bring them in, it's that like A players hire A plus players or whatever, or like B players hire C people, but A people hire A plus people. I don't remember. But the point being, like, if you can level up your game, level it up and keep going for higher and higher and higher. Hope it was useful. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.